call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item tonight is approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting October 15th. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at them. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting on October 14th.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes of our special board meeting October 23rd. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting on October 23rd.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve our special board meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Our next item of business are the approval of our general fund vouchers 81,784 through 81,851 and wire transfers 2025-0089 through 2025-0124. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the general fund vouchers and the wire transfers as read. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the general fund vouchers and the wire transfers. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is our procedures for public comments, which, is anybody here to would like to share anything in the public comment section? Okay, seeing none, then we'll move on to our spotlight on education. The Clear Lake FFA is in the house.
Do you want them like on the back wall? Is that okay so that everybody can see the screen? Is that work for everybody?
Yeah, whatever.
You guys have cute little spinny chairs?
Yeah, we can just spin around, yeah.
Or on the other side of the table. That might be a little...
Yeah. Whatever is easiest.
Should be charged. Fully charged.
So we're the Clear Lake group of members who went to WLC this summer.
So now tell them a little bit about WLC.
WLC is a national leadership conference put on by a bunch of, well, they aren't even national officers. They could have been state officers previously. It's a group of nationally trained leaders.
So we did take a group out the first full week of June. We were out just a little bit early before that last day to fly out there. So I did include two pictures. So on the right, we've got our contingency that went for that week, but we also adopted a couple extras. So we had Mandy join us from Ashland, and Lydia and Ryan came out from Chippewa Falls, and they flew with our group out to DC, and then they flew with us back.
I was going to say, I don't recognize it.
Yeah,
Open enrollment, future open enrollment.
Yeah, the airport. So they were FFA members that were also going the same week, and since we were flying, we just brought them along, and that was just brought a lot of extra joy to our group. So. Just some other fun pictures. The one in the circle down there is there's a really big metro stop, and then we have this huge escalator to get out of the tunnel, and this was me looking down. They were all like a little awestruck at how big it was in there. And then flying into DC, there was the Washington line.
Okay, so my favorite part of WLC was experiencing the monuments. So we went to monuments like Lincoln, JFK, Vietnam, Korea, and Iwo Jima. And it's just a really impactful little tour that all of the WLC members, so everyone in our big group that we had went out, including all of us. So we got to explore kind of on our own with buddies and just experience what it is to walk through all of the monuments and see what it's like. So that's a very impactful tour. So we all the members there for that week, we traveled to the U.S. Capitol. There's like the big group picture of all of us. It was crazy to see all of us together on the stairs. But then we split off to our little group and we went to Thomas Tiffany's office, and his staff hooked us up with a tour of the Capitol. So we went down and there was like this big room of all these statues that we get 2 statues to represent our state that can go into that room of statues. So it's kind of see like all of the different important people from each state. And we also got to see that could have been the grave of George Washington if his family would have allowed him to be buried there inside the Capitol. So it's just kind of like an eye-opening experience to just see like the big part of history that we all think of.
So group sessions, we stayed in this hotel. It was pretty big, and they had like a downstairs thing, and it was a wide open area where all of us had meetings together, talked about leadership and all this stuff. We met new people down there, and then we ate down there. They had breakfast, lunch, and dinner down there, so we didn't have to go anywhere. And then after that, they split us off to like random groups to go upstairs into like the hotel rooms itself. And they made little names, like my name was like the Foresters or something, our group was. And we really dug into what leadership really was and how we can make it better for the world. And then, yeah.
So we went to Arlington Cemetery. It was a lot of walking, but with the big group of kids that we had, it was silence for most of the walk. It's definitely a moment I would never forget personally, because in the picture you can see already big rows, but it was left and right, it was up and down hills, and it was a lot of headstones, which is definitely an eye-opener, which shows all of those who fought and sacrificed their lives for that. On the right is the changing of a guard on the tomb of the unknown soldier. They work all day, every day, morning and night, weather doesn't matter, they're always out there. It was quiet when the guard was changing, it was respectful, and I think it was just a very big honor for us to be able to watch that happen from small town Clear Lake.
Okay, so we got to do a service project while we were there, and we got to pack food for a Be My Starving Children event. We got to pack the apple and cinnamon oatmeal while we were there. And it was very cool to be able to see how one person's idea can impact so many, and we got to participate in that, which was very, very awesome. And I think it was just very fun for all of us to get to see and do.
So we also got to tour the Holocaust Museum. It was very impactful. If you've never gone, I would highly recommend it. It's a very good learning experience to take like what you've learned in the classroom and just totally immaculate it when it comes to the Holocaust, because like you know what it is, but you've never actually seen it. So while we're at this museum, I feel like we definitely got a new mindset of what the Holocaust really looked like, and just like the horrors of it, because there were some pretty scary things, but there were also really cool, like eye-opening, honestly life-changing things, because you don't think of some things when you think of the Holocaust. And I just honestly, I love just how much I got to learn about the Holocaust and just World War II in general.
So next is the Pentagon Memorial, and that one we were very lucky to get to see towards the end of our trip. And this one was very like organized and well put together, and it just made sense. So when you look at the benches, the ones pointing towards the Pentagon, those represent the people who died in the Pentagon when the plane crashed in there. And then the benches pointing away were the people that died in the planes. And then the benches are organized from youngest to oldest. So you could see that like there was a 3-year-old on the plane to like a 75-year-old on the plane. And it was a very like somber and quiet kind of like vibe throughout the whole like memorial, and like it was really impactful to walk around and see all the people who died during that horrific event.
These are just some fun pictures. I don't remember his name, but he photobombed some of our pictures, and we kind of got to make a friend on the National Mall. It was fun.
So I went week 6 all by myself, and I rode the bus down there. Mr. Taylor, Mrs. Grant, and a bunch of other FFA members. And let me tell you, that bus ride was 26 hours long. Plus a stop at Flight 93 Memorial to see where the plane crashed. We also saw the Tower of Voices, and then we also walked through the museum. Then we got back on the bus and continued. When we got there, we were pretty early because everybody else was flying in later that night. So I just hung out. I met my roommates. I had one from Montana and one from California. And after that, we all meet in that big group area like Bio was talking about. And we just sat there and you see all these people. I met people from Idaho. I met people from Montana. There was a lot of people from Montana, Idaho, and Wisconsin there that week. So that's kind of nice. We broke into our small groups, and then I was in the National Park Rangers, and my group leader is actually from Wisconsin, so he taught everybody how to polka. That was pretty cool. Then we went on the monument tours, and we did our community service. We went to Arlington as well, and then when we had our free time to walk around the city, I saw the Holocaust Museum as well, and I would highly recommend that to anybody. Then we went and saw the U.S. Botanical Garden, and that was very nice and light after walking through the Holocaust Museum, let me tell you. And then we also went and saw the White House, and it is not as cool as I thought it was going to be. But I can say I've been to the White House, so that's pretty cool. I also learned how to swing dance, and I worked really hard on my LTS plan, which I plan on going more into depth in my civics class this semester, or in this quarter anyways. But an LTS plan is a learning to serve plan. So it is something I would like to bring back to my community and work on. So I would like to get a safety day started for the older kids, so I started on that. We also, let's see, I have so many stories, but I'm trying to keep it short, I promise.
And appropriate, by the way.
And appropriate. I think my favorite part was meeting all these people. I've met people I still talk to. Thanks to my mobile device, my dad would tell you I'm always on. I get to talk to them all the time, and it's so nice. But it was definitely hard saying goodbye to them, because after a week, I was like, I know these people so well. And then I don't get to see them maybe ever again. Hopefully, but flights are expensive. But on a positive note, I traveled 26 hours to see my cousin. So that was pretty cool. Didn't know she was going, but I would recommend WLC to anybody who is thinking about it.
Actually, before I talk, so one of our members, Casey, is sick tonight, but he sent me a little bit that he wanted me to share. So he says, what I learned a lot in the 5 days I was there. We learned how to become leaders of our own local communities. The main thing I learned at WLC is that I got to know my purpose to take action and serve others. I also learned that making friends at events like this is actually quite easy to do. One of my favorite parts of the trip was getting to know the people that were there. There were around 300 people there, and 50 of them were from Oklahoma. Getting to explore DC was one thing I didn't want to miss out, and every day we went out and toured something different, which I thought was very cool. So he was sorry he couldn't be here. But, and then I'll just very brief wrap up. They got to talk about the big stuff, but just to travel with a group of awesome leaders like this was so fun. I included kind of one of our blooper pictures because I just felt like it captured how much time we spent laughing together in this big group. Again, we kind of had adopted a couple extras, and just to get to know them and to just have this little family together while we were out there was really fun. It's been neat even going to other FFA events this year. We've been able to meet up with some of them and kind of reconnect. To hear these guys talk to you right now, almost 6 months later, and how much that these conversations are still happening and the impact from this week is still being felt in our chapter is really cool. I actually included a couple of cool pictures, and I included a funny one. So the top right corner, you can't really see it, but those are silky leopard print pants that I'm wearing with something that doesn't match. So I married into a family, they do this cool thing, you take a picture of the pants somewhere cool, and so mine got to travel the farthest, and I got to go to the Capitol and take a picture for the little Christmas exchange with my leopard print pants to hand on to the next person. So the Capitol was interesting. You can kind of see there was a lot going on that week, and so they had it barricaded because there was a big event happening. never actually found out what was going on, but there was a lot of stuff going on, so they had it kind of a bunch of stuff in front of it. But yeah, it was just a really great week, and we're just really excited to come and tell you all about it. So thank you. We'd love to take questions. They have lots of knowledge.
Questions are highly recommended.
It was a pretty busy place, wasn't it?
It was really
Washington.
busy.
Jets flying in and out, helicopters flying around, and
Well, like there was this garden next to the hotel, and it's like you couldn't go out there without supervision because obviously they're in charge of you. But like you walk out there and you'd be like, you're in the middle of DC, it's gonna be super loud. And it was so quiet. I was bamboozled. But the metro, on the other hand, ooh, let me tell you, I have some metro stories. Let me tell you, don't step on the little rails. Those are called the bubbles. And they have a whole song about how not to step on the bubbles. And if you see a door, you gotta make a door. And this is not our stop. This is not our stop, WLC. This is not our stop. You hear that a lot. We had a traveling chipmunk in our group since we were the National Park Foresters, or Rangers, and I had it the first night. And oh my gosh, I guarded that thing with my life because the other groups are trying to steal it. So I'm walking around with a chipmunk like this. And I was like, it was so much fun. I had one of the best groups. I wish I could go again. See, Annie agrees with me.
Fantastic. Well, if you don't have any other questions, we'll let you get on with your meeting. So, thanks for letting us share.
Thank you.
thanks, good job. Great job, you guys. All right. Next item of business, approval of resignations.
And we have none, so we can move right on from that one. That's happy to say.
Let's move then on to our approval of hires.
Okay. So we just have a couple of co-curricular. So we've been looking for a junior prom advisor, and we did not have anybody on staff this year who was interested and able to do it. However, we did have a parent of a junior who also happens to be one of our main substitutes. Teresa Brantner is willing to help out as the prom advisor this year. So I'd like to put her forward. And then we also have, if you remember at the last, when we approved the winter coaching roster, we did not have a girls basketball JV coach. And Brenna Peterson has agreed to coach girls basketball for the JV. And so that, I just wanted to put that forward because it wasn't on the last one. So that's the only thing I have for hires.
Who was the prom advisor before?
Last year was Kristen Labrie, and prior to that, for multiple years, was it Mrs. Rubel? Or has it been? No, it's been a while since Mrs. Rubel.
Spanish teacher.
No, a special ed teacher.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
The name is slipping my mind right now.
Yep. Yep. So,
Okay. I will
Former special ed teacher, I should say.
I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the hires.
Second.
So properly moved and seconded to approve our new hires. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Okay, the next item of business is the review of our tax levy certification.
Oh, one more before that.
No, district calendar. See.
All right, district calendar.
Yeah.
On the bottom.
Oh, there it is.
Did it get cut off?
Yep.
Yeah, so we, more back on schedule this year, you know, kind of like to usually approve it in November or December here. But the calendar, school calendar for 2025, 2026. So we got the calendar committee together in mid-October, about the 15th, I think it was. And what I usually do is try to kind of prepare a basic draft, have the admin look at it, bring it to the committee, and then have the committee look at it. And then every year we always get some good suggestions from them to tweak things. And then so we did some of that based on their recommendations, and then took that, and then the principals did some work to get the parent-teacher conference dates figured out based on that. They usually get a little input from Mr. Rosine, the athletic director, to make sure that there's trying to avoid conflicts that way. And then we set the summer school dates as well. So Teresa and Mrs. Patty Weiss looked at that together. So what we use is, there's 3 documents I have attached there. Is the calendar itself that's proposed, and then I've got the calendar committee guidelines, so, number of student days, typically 175 now that we do. There are required hours of instruction for the elementary and at the high school. There's 188 contracted days. So this, you figure out, you lay out the holidays, a start date of, as soon as you can, September 1st, and then it kind of, it kind of lays itself out. You try to even out the quarters, try to have the quarters end on a Thursday or a Friday so you can have in-service on a Friday or Monday and so on. So it kind of lays itself out. It's not rocket science, I guess. But I don't know if there's any questions or comments or.
It looks like we're moving elementary parent-teacher conferences to October versus November.
Yeah, Mrs. Anderson, you have any comment on that?
A reason for a month earlier?
By the time the first quarter ends and we're meeting almost 2 or so weeks after, life has really moved on. So we're trying to do more goal-setting conferences. And I think the way that we've shifted with understanding standards and what's needed, that whole grade on the report card isn't maybe as important as it once was versus the continuum of reaching those goals. So the guiding coalition or building leadership team that discussed it wanted to give that a try, more of a mid, I guess. And talking with other Lakeland principals, we were the only ones that were well into November, and they've appreciated it earlier. So we thought we would give it a try this year for 2025.
And then,
I see in the guidelines we struck out early dismissal of the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
right. Right.
Is
So
that something different this year? Or?
yeah, well, and it's starting, I wanted to say last year because I'm already thinking ahead, but this current year that we're in now, we're doing the full day off on Wednesday instead of a half day off. And so same thing for next year. So I think if that goes well this year, which I assume it will, and we're able to get the right amount of minutes done, still I think that seems pretty agreeable to most people. So I crossed it off, but I didn't eliminate it because I thought, well, just in case, just kind of leave it on there for posterity for a few years to remind ourselves what we used to do. So, and then we also have, the way it falls, we end up with 4 in-service days before the start of the school year again. Calendar falls different every year. If we stuck it into the middle of the year, now we're pushing our last day into a Monday or something. We don't want to do that. So anyway, it went over well, and we'll take probably a very similar approach where that first day, the 25th of August, we won't have a whole lot of meetings or activities, more of a let the staff work, get some of that out of their system so that when we meet on Tuesday, they're more ready to meet and not be worried and thinking so much about what's going on to do in their classrooms.
Okay, any other discussion? With that, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the 25-26 calendar. Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the next year's calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business now is review of the tax levy certification.
Yeah, and again, there's no action or anything like that. It's just more of a point of, so, at the last meeting, at the special meeting, you all approved the levy, and then what we do then, the next, I think it was the very next day, go into the DPI portal and we plug in our levy, and then it divvies it out amongst all of the different municipalities that are in our district, and based on the percentage of the district that they are, and it divvies that out automatically, and then we generate the tax bills, which we then send out to, after the clerk comes in and signs them, and then we send those out to the municipalities, and I believe we got confirmation that they all were received well ahead of the deadline, November 8th. So it's just a point of just making sure everybody gets a chance to see how it auto generates and what all goes out. So.
What was the final percentage in?
The mill rate?
Yeah, or Lori, yeah.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot. I don't have it. It's 7 point. I can find it quick.
Like 7.2.
I'm sorry, you guys probably already talked about that at the...
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. 7 point. I want to say what I think it is, but I'm going to say the wrong thing, so I'm not going to say it, because I can look it up for you, Matt. As soon as the meeting's done, I can pull that up on an electronic doc very quickly. But we talked about the mill rate did go back up from last year, was a historic low, lowest it had ever been. And so it popped back up above 7, but it's still, if you look at the historical trajectory, it's going down,
Yeah,
down,
quite a
down,
bit lower.
due to our property values exploding in the area. So, yep.
7.65.
Well, thank you.
Thank
You looked
I
it
just
up
went in the old-
looked at last month. Thank you. So no action needed, just kind of on there for information. So.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item of business, which is review of our collective board norms and commitments.
Okay, so this was 2 years ago, September 2022, the board had a retreat and then had worked to did a big activity. Remember the activity with the sticky notes? Here's a paper copy in case. I just thought it's easier to look at that way. Thank you. Greg and I had talked about this a while back, so that if you remember when we did them, then the following year, we kind of said, hey, we'll just kind of every year in September when we have that, we're kind of sort of making it that little bit of a tradition, going back even before me in September having a board retreat, and then we said we'd kind of review them at that time. Well, this year we had our guest in September when we had Aaron Bellargin here, so it just didn't really fit with that night. So Greg and I had talked about just like, hey, let's just bring him out to the meeting, and so this is just what the board had created with the sticky note activity, and then we kind of categorized them into groups, and so this is basically, for people listening, this is just what the board said, hey, this is how we're going to operate. These are the how we're gonna, how we're gonna work as a board, and the kind of the values that we're gonna follow, and the we talk about norms, it's just kind of the expectations, the common expectations that everyone has of themselves and each other. So
Have we taken any of this and compared it to our pillars?
Well, not really. This doesn't really have much to do with the pillars, I don't think. But I think what we should do is everybody memorize a column, and then we'll play a little game like Family Feud or something. Or
yeah, there's 5 columns.
Yeah. Are you feeling the love, Greg?
Well, I was just reading through some of these. The fact of the matter is, these norms, all of the board members are conscious of kindness in this room, and all the things that are on here that we identified 1 year ago, we're living by, and that makes this board, the district, work properly. I've been on boards that haven't been that way, and they're no fun for us, and no fun for the people that work for that board, and no fun for the students that are picking the cherries off the tree at the end. And it does follow all the way down to the bottom. So yeah, this is our hope, that this becomes our tradition to acknowledge these norms and add to them if we need to or if we want to, but carry that forward so we can kind of keep our board functioning, the way that a board was meant to function, even in disagreements. That's part of being on a board. So I personally thank you guys all for being so good board members.
I think what the board created 2 years ago was impressive. I think as a superintendent, and I talked to other superintendents in other districts, and different districts that struggle or do great, and I'd hold this up to anybody in the state to say, hey, I'm proud of this. This is what our board says are our operating rules. How we treat each other and how we approach things, and I know that I'm very, very fortunate, and I always. I'm conscious of that, of how positively our district functions in many ways. Obviously, we always have things that we need to work on and get better at, but it begins with our board leadership, and I just appreciate it very much.
So that being said, when you guys read through these, if there's anything you think we might want to add to it, by all means, let's bring it forward and
Can we consolidate some of it?
some of it is
Some of it is
repetitive.
very repetitive. I'm like, I think there's about 4 things in
'Cause-
respectful and polite that could be
Yeah.
succinctly one bullet.
I think what was done is we took the
I think we
sticky
took
notes
all of
themselves
them.
and just said, hey, I just categorized
actually
them and
did
said,
the theme.
not rewrite them, not change them in any way, but just these are the words of the board, you know? So, but yeah,
Yeah.
It'll make it easier for me to play Greg's game.
Sure. All right, so anybody have any comments on the norms and commitments? All right, so then we'll move on. So we can get to our dinners tonight. The next item of business is discussion of the WASB State Ed Convention and selection of delegates for the assembly.
Okay, so the annual State School Board Convention is January 22nd, 23rd, 24th, 2025 in Milwaukee again, like where they always have it. They always have it there because that's the only convention center in the state that's big enough. So I guess two things tonight is, who wants to go? And then the second part of, who's for sure wants to go, just to talk about if someone would like to be designated as the person who's the delegate to go to the delegate assembly. And again, it doesn't mean you have to go sit there the whole time. It just means that, every district is just supposed to appoint or name someone to be there who's designated to go to it and vote to be the voting member if you want to. So, I know in the past, Matt and Corey have expressed, definitely you guys want to go.
I did the delegate last year. I'd do it again, but I know that Corey's looking at maybe try
He's
to-
super excited.
That's fine.
I got my feet wet last year, so yeah, I'll do it this year.
I don't mind taking
I plan
turns.
on going, so.
Yeah.
And I'll put this on the December agenda too. There's no registration's open, but we got plenty of time. So if other board members are thinking about it, I know for a lot of you, it's work, it's a commitment, it's a lot. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be gone that long, that whole week. But then the other thing too is for anyone to remember, like, you don't have to go to the whole thing if you wanted to come down a day late. Or a lot of districts, I think, will take off Thursday night and not stay for Friday. So that's always an option for any of us too that might want to go, but maybe can't commit to the 3 full days because that's that's a lot.
I looked at the agenda and I'm in for it.
So I know, Matt, you're interested, Corey, you're interested,
Yep.
and if anybody else is, maybe we've got hotel rooms reserved, so I know. So if anyone else is interested, just let me know over the next month or so.
Sounds good, Chris, thank you. The next item of business then is review our school board election timetable.
Okay, so it's already that time of year to post. I was sending off the election notices. I attached the election notice there, that type A notice for, so we got our election coming in April 1st. And this year Matt is the one who was up for election, just him alone. So, but I just laid out the timeline there. So we get it posted here at the end of November, and then kind of the month of December and the first week of January is when anybody, incumbent or newcomer, would file saying they would like to run. The deadline for filing is January 7th for any candidates by 5 p.m. on January 7th, and then also for any incumbents who want to declare that they don't want to run. So if Matt were to say, I'm not running, he would, his deadline to let us know that would be December 27th.
So do I need to file anything? I just say I want to do it, or?
You would come in still and file fill out the papers as an incumbent, yep.
Same
And
here.
Eve would be the one.
I'm
yep.
getting a package together for you.
Yep. Yep. So, and we're a little early. Like usually, like it's that 1st of December is when it'll get published here early because the Chronicle publishes early. It'll come out kind of early here in November. But typically, it's more like around the 1st of December after Thanksgiving is when the earliest that people would come in and start filing. So, any questions?
Okay. The next item of business then is our superintendent notes. Mr. Chris Peterson.
So just a quick update on things. We've we're in between kind of that little bit of that lull between athletic seasons when things kind of tend to feel a little slower down in the high school building anyway, but still lots going on. Some of our administrators went to Mr. Melberg and Mr. Rosine went to the county truancy meeting since our last October board meeting. put on a blood drive here at the high school. The NHS, was it NHS or STS? A lot of them are
STS.
STS, okay, it's a lot of the same kids, but STS put on a blood drive. That was great. We had Food for America that same day, I believe, the elementary students at the French Shoe Farm. Yeah, late October, we had our single audit, which is otherwise known as the federal audit. Again, I think this will be the last year we have to do that because we've had more, met over the threshold of federal money due to ESSER. We get this extra audit that happens. We had junior kindergarten, had their fall program. They had some fun Halloween activities too for those little kiddos. The quarter finished and we had an in-service day just a week or so ago. We had a National Honor Society induction. Today we had two terrific Veterans Day programs at the elementary school and at the high school. Very well attended by local veterans and members of the American Legion and the Auxiliary. Very great student participation all around. Some of the best groups of just like student speeches and everything that I've heard over the years, and some nice musical performances. So, and then coming up here we'll have elementary parent-teacher conferences later this week, and then a book fair and movie night on Friday put on by the PTO. Lakeland Honors Band and Choir coming up next week, and junior high boys basketball has gotten started, and high school winter sports will all be started by next week, underway. So, and then it won't be long. We'll blink our eyes and we'll be at Thanksgiving break, and we'll blink our eyes again, and we'll be getting to the holiday season in December. So, kind of what's been going on.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Any questions for Mr. Peterson? Then the next item of business is a contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, paragraph 1C, and 19.85, paragraph 1D. The board will discuss staffing, performance, and cybersecurity. I will poll the board. May?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Christie?
Yep.
Matthew?
Yes.
All right, we're all accounted for. And we will be in closed session shortly.
Thank you. Have a good
Thank
night.
you, Eve. Yeah. You don't. All right, we're going to return to open. Future agenda items. Does anybody have anything they'd like to put on an agenda?
I was just going to mention I'll have some Neola policy updates. It's been a while since we had some, so we'll have some next month for first
Merry
reading,
Christmas.
and then we'll have the state report cards. And then I also wanted to ask if the group, I believe it's middle school music concert that night, so I'll keep an eye on the agenda and kind of how long it looks. And if it starts to look like it could get longer, we could potentially start a little earlier, but hopefully we won't need to. I mean, based on what I see on there so far, I think we might be fine to still be done at an older time. So sorry, I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
I was just wanted to maybe do just to follow up on part of our goals was to meet with a business once. I don't remember if it's once a quarter or once a semester, and just curious if we've done that yet. And then I mentioned a couple months ago about maybe getting some spotlight on our tech ed programs and just kind of maybe spell out what we've got and how that compares to other schools or whatnot. But
would Mr. Larson have some student projects that, like, I know he's got like the Woods class, he's got some others, like would he be able to have some student projects for us to go through and see what they're working on?
It's got an employability class right now where kids are working on, there's nothing major, but some smaller projects all over the building, including some signage and comments that we're open to. We made one trial run at it and it didn't work very well, so we're going to try it again.
Yeah.
So that would be one.
I know a few years ago he had us through there with all of his equipment and everything, but it would be nice to see some student work.
Yep.
And like we said too, it's on a strategic planning calendar. One of the pillars will, the CTE team is working on a significant part of for the high school contributions to that. So we're planning to have that on that strategic planning calendar. I can't remember what month it is, built into there, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What you mentioned about meeting with businesses, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I believe we were going to meet with a community organization or business once, I don't remember if it was once a quarter or once a semester, to see how we could work with them in some way, or
Was it job shadowing type and
yeah, for
I vaguely remember all that
opportunities
they-
or
That's part of the plan they're developing.
The school board, you talking about our
Pillars.
kids? That our kids.
I thought it was the administration was going to have a teacher. They,
I thought one of the teachers.
they'd pick
in
one
services
teacher
were
and
gonna
then
do
an administrator.
Something out with the community.
Would meet with somebody.
The
in the
high school will do
community.
that through our ACP plan in the spring, yeah.
Yeah.
So our, the staff in this building, instead of a parent-teacher conference later in the spring, part of our academic career planning is that, in our CT department is putting plans together for that. We will go out that night into the community, whether it's a business here or close by. And then also some college visit stuff over the years. We'll create a plan where we do that every spring.
Every spring. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I'm sorry, I was confused.
No, I couldn't remember the when that how often it was supposed to be that we were going to do that, or I thought it was like once a quarter or something like that. I understand.
Good question.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's just how you change the parent-teacher conference
Yes,
type
yep.
things, yeah.
Yeah, which is important. That's one of the pillars that we want to uphold. So, good question, Matt. All right. Next item of business then is adjournment. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.